Thank you so much for joining me on this phone call from you from the States, both of you. And it's, I think 10 a.m. in the morning with you guys. For me, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm very thankful for being able to have this conversation with you about the Sustainable Hospitality Challenge. You both participated in the challenge in 2022. You made it to the finals in Dubai in September last year, and you actually won. I mean, congratulations. That's really fantastic. To start off with, could you both please introduce yourself? Eden, let's start with you.
Sure. Thanks so much for the introduction, Ruben. My name's Eden. I'm a Cornell MMH graduate of class of 2022, and it was such a pleasure during my MMH experience to participate in SHC. As you mentioned, I worked with Uddhav and two of our classmates on a project called Nimbus, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit. I'm a designer for Hilton on their product experience and prototypes team, so doing design work, but we also work on Nimbus all the time.
Yeah, you were very technical oriented, is that correct? So of course we have the Sustainable Hospitality Challenge, and in your year when you participated, it was very hospitality management oriented, but you actually did a different type of degree and you really added that technical part to the team.
Absolutely. I think our team members, we all sort of brought some form of technical background to the team. So, we were thinking about the project from a holistic hospitality experience perspective. And then, of course, sustainability not as checking the box, but as very much part of the experience woven into every aspect of it. But yes, my contribution and everyone's in some way was that technical part, whether that be, in my case, the actual design of the pod itself, and some of our teammates contributed specific, financial knowledge and all very, I would say, the required forms of expertise to bring the whole thing together.
Yeah. I think this is already a very nice introduction into what I also wanted to talk about today, is the fact that what you contributed with your concept and maybe even part of the reason why you won is because it was so concrete and implementable, and it was so real for the jury members, both in how you were able to support it with evidence, but also just how to visualize it for people, is actually a reason why the challenge this year also includes a lot of interdisciplinary teams of students from both hospitality management studies and technical universities. So that is really a big step for the challenge as a whole that I think, I'm not going to give all the credit to you, but there is a large part there that you definitely contributed, which is of course fantastic. Uddhav, would you like to introduce yourself too?
Yeah, thank you, Ruben, for the introduction earlier on. And like Eden, I was at the Cornell MMH program, and we graduated in December 22. Since then, I'm based in New York City now, working with Accor as part of the development team. And like Eden said, we do work on Nimbus all the time. We have our weekly calls and things going on. We're taking baby steps, but we're getting there. And outside of all this, at the Cornell program, the great part of the Cornell program was that we got to meet a lot of people from various backgrounds, like you said. So Eden specializing in design strategy, then our other team members specializing in finance, someone being an engineer, me coming from an operations development background. So we were really able to put this together in terms of Nimbus and get this going. We were obviously super excited about where we were and how far we got. And so building that on towards hopefully making this into a real product sometime in the future.
Super interesting. I'd love to know more about where Nimbus is at now, but maybe the question for you, Uddhav, is to, in a couple of sentences, I mean, you did a lot of pitching in the challenge anyway, so I'm sure you can also give it now in 2 or 3 sentences. What is your concept for the people that don't know what we're talking about?
All right, so there's no easy way to go about this. I think as a background story, we've had this conversation so many times between the 4 of us. And when someone asks us how to explain Nimbus, we all have 4 different ways to approach it. So my version is that in very simple layman terms, like absolutely the bone of the concept is you take a private yacht but you do it differently. So what Nimbus does is Nimbus takes you, the traveler, and the hotel room to different places, to remote destinations that cannot be accessed currently. So if the destination is accessible by a physical hotel or by infrastructure, then the guest or potential traveler has already been there. But if a destination is not accessible, then Nimbus is a way to unlock those destinations. So the guest travels with their personal crew, which is a chef, a butler, and a little more of background support, with their room to inaccessible destinations and experiences what they have to offer without leaving a footprint on the environment. The last part is super key for us because we see in the world today a lot of environmentally sensitive locations are inaccessible just because the government authority and the environmentalists don't want us to get there. But if you can give the guests an experience of hospitality without disturbing environment and changing the ecological balance, that's when Nimbus really fits in. So if you were to go on the same journey as someone else that went before you, you would not know that there was a hotel here, or there was Nimbus here, or there was an experience here. So the idea is to tell the story of the location without disturbing it.
Fantastic. I think it's a beautiful story, and I can also visualize that. Is it correct that it's a flying pod?
Yes, I kind of missed that part.
You did. I was gonna jump in and just summarize. I mean, the party line, right? And Uddhav is right. We have, and among our teammates that weren't able to join the call today, so many ways of explaining this thing: a decentralized hotel, a deconstructed hotel. There's so many ways to think about, especially the broader operations. But from the guest perspective, Nimbus is a collection of soaring hotel rooms that deliver the guests to the most remote wonders available. So as Uddhav mentioned, inaccessible places, it's all good because it gets you there. And at the time of SHC, the concept was that the pods are carried by hot air balloon to these different destinations, which means not only are you sort of flying with your hotel room, your support personnel and also your belongings to these remote wonders, but it's completely silent because hot air balloons are completely silent. You're in the wind mass. There's no wind when you're traveling. So just the experience of it being this kind of incredible and serene thing. And yes, you land at a variety of, sort of predetermined destinations that are safe for landing. But each pod is self-contained. You have everything you need in the pod. It opens up. It's transformable. It opens up on the ground, and on the ground, you have your experience for a couple of nights or as long as you wish. And when you're done, it folds up and you take off again. And so there's really nothing left behind. Everything comes with you and leaves with you. And it was really important for us seeing kind of the impact, good and bad, of tourism around the world, that whatever we develop next, minimize the bad and have as much positive impact and good experiences without leaving any sort of impression that we otherwise might not want on our environment. It's so much inspired by NEOM, right? Because so much of NEOM is dedicated to nature. The portion that will be built is very strategic around certain experiences, certain resources and everything, but the vast majority is dedicated to nature, to preserving nature. There's immense history in that region and archaeology and all of this stuff. And so we wanted to make sure that, very much inspired by this location as well, that we protect it and that we're able both to expose everyone to this incredible place and protect it.
Yeah. No, yeah, and indeed, I think NEOM throws around these little facts about that mega project in Saudi Arabia, that it's like the size of Belgium, but they only cultivate they only cultivate 5% of it with like their projects, and the other 95% it really goes back to nature. And in this case, you would still be making use of that by putting your pots there, which is very interesting. It's an incredible idea, as good as incredible even that you won the challenge, which is great. And I'm really curious to see what happened. Maybe first a question: how did you feel at those finals, and what did you feel when you won? And then where's your project at now? That's what I'm very interested in.
How did we feel?
Oh my God, I think my heart rate was 140. I have a photo of that somewhere. but I think it was exhilarating. It was I think just incredible to be on stage and present the concept to the audience and the kind of jury members that were judging us. But it was an incredible experience. I think I loved it, and even though my heart rate was 140 and I was absolutely nervous on stage, it's great character building, personality building, and to be able to defend and present your idea to people who have never heard of it, to make them imagine what you're saying and what you've imagined, and to really help them visualize that takeoff, landing, transformation of the pod and experiences. I think that was the biggest learning for me, and I would do it all over again if I could.
I'll second that it was really such an honor to be involved in SHC, because the competition itself attracts certain types of professionals and these most incredible minds. And so our jury were made up of such incredible professionals and distinguished professionals. It was just an honor to be in the same room, to be presenting with them, to have the opportunity to.
I still have a question there. So how
Sure.
serious did they really take you? Because I think that's something that also people looking at this video would think like, okay, how big of an impact can it actually have? Because your idea is obviously super innovative and regenerative of what our industry stands for. It's not going to one location anymore. It's really rethinking the way we build tourism. And I think that's part of what the challenge is about, like rethinking the way we think about travel and trying to do that more sustainably. But how open are such C-level executives, like those very high-level people, as you said, incredible minds, how seriously they really take you?
Well, I think that it's self-selective, the whole environment, right? And those folks wouldn't be there if they weren't in their own way looking for the greatest ideas that they could in some way implement in their day-to-day and in their respective businesses, and the audience as well. So the fact that SHC was ultimately embedded into the Future Hospitality Summit meant that anyone else in the room not related also came came seeking in search of inspiration and in search of the greatest ideas. I know that a few of our competing teams made incredible connections just being part of the conference, so they might not have won, but they definitely excelled all of their proposals just by being in the room with these folks. And I would say they took it very seriously. Some of the highlights for us was the advice that they gave us, which, when somebody gives you such tailored advice for your concept, it means they've taken the time really to think about it, which is a huge honor in and of itself, and very practical, so that we could go and implement some of their advice. So I would say they took it seriously, and it was a great learning experience from that perspective as well.
Amazing.
I'd like to just add a couple of things that I think what Eden said summed it up really beautifully. But another key thing that we really emphasized on in our concept was to base it in technologies that exist today. We didn't give or present a concept that required a leap of faith or a gap in understanding how this is going to happen. Everything that we presented, from the material to how it flies and moves around and the experiences that the guest is offered, everything was based in what is there today. And we had partnerships to back that up. So I'm sure that added an air of credibility to our concept, which also helped the judges validate what the concept was about. And then, like Eden said, they had given that time and thought to really give us detailed feedback and ask questions.
I think you're fully right there, and that might, as you said, it really played into the credibility of your concept and the willingness for these C-level jury members. As you said, it's probably the type of people that want to have such innovative minds, but still they need something believable. And I think SHC is also a beautiful combination between totally out of the box concepts that are maybe way ahead of their time. I've also, of course, seen the concepts that were at the semifinals last year, and some things are totally out of the box, and you think this is 100 years ahead, and that's maybe too far. It's still something that the challenge brings forward. That's beautiful, and at the same time, it's this really concrete and yes, as you said, credible concepts that can be implemented today or tomorrow if someone would just go for it and build it. And I think that's a beautiful combination. at the same time, I also think that's the reason, as I mentioned before, why we have such technical universities involved for this year's challenge, is to try to, we still want that out of the box thinking, but it can make more impact if it's really implementable technically and if things are possible to actually execute also in short term. So I think that's the beautiful combination that SHC brings. And there actually also brings me to, I'm curious where your project stands. So how concrete are we talking?
Very concrete. But no actual concrete, only amphotex. One of the incredible things that came out of SHC and being in the room with those incredible folks, specifically from NEOM, is the ability to pursue this with them. And so in the months that have ensued, the projects in NEOM are developing at lightning speed, and there's so much complexity and there's so much going on. And so where Nimbus has focused our time is really just getting to know their teams. Uddhav and our other partner, Eddy, were able to go visit. I was too pregnant to go visit at the time. But they were able to actually go to NEOM and meet the various teams that are involved in bringing that project to life and sort of understand better how Nimbus fits with all that planning. And since then, we've been sort of tweaking our concept and making sure that it is feasible. So what we did for SHC was make sure that the technologies exist to bring this to life. In other words, like you're saying, Ruben, if someone would just combine from off the shelf this technology, and this, we'd be able to make a flying pod. Well, now we have to make sure that the very intricate details of where we fly that pod, how it works, exactly what it's made of, exactly, how quickly it delivers a guest, or how precisely it delivers a guest, is all suitable for the very particular environment of NEOM. So we've taken the time to sort of better understand their geography, better understand their goals as a project, as an initiative, and align ourselves with them. I know, Uddhav, if there's anything you wanted to sort of ask about the progress we've made in the last few months.
No, I think that sums it up pretty well, actually. The visit to NEOM was very important for us and for NEOM to understand what we could do and what we were looking at. And it's absolutely very real. We're still navigating. I mean, there's always a few things that we're navigating, but we're looking at taking the next step in this journey. And to do that, we are putting together materials and talking to our potential suppliers, manufacturers, engineers, designers, who could really help us take this to the next step.
Amazing. I mean, it's beautiful to hear. It's actually still, it really changes your life also in terms of, weekly meetings about it. This is something that might actually happen in the future. And I think it's really nice to hear from you as winners that it's, in that sense, really being taken serious. And it's really something that can happen in the future. Now, it's also good to know that also other people who participated in or other teams that participated in the finals were also the opportunity given to visit NEOM. It was really your prize to being the winners. And of course, the partnerships that you got there and the advice from C-level executives, but even other teams who didn't win also are taking their concepts very, very far, which is beautiful to see as to what an impact the challenge can really have. Also, when you, as people, as said, of course, your concept will do great things for the industry, but also for you as people, as said, it's maybe something that you have weekly meetings about. But I'm also wondering, what did SHC, so the challenge, your participation in the challenge and being able to network with so many people around the world, showing off your skills for making such a concept, for being in touch with jury members or VIPs during such the finals and during the summit, what did that bring you personally?
Tough question.
Did it? That's my favorite question. Did it bring you something?
No, I think it did for all of us in our different on our own ways. I think SHC, is firstly a tremendous platform in the way it really sets you up to present where you're going with this. I think of a couple of the things to be kind of all realize is that you lean into the temptation to innovate, just go absolutely crazy, just think what you can, but still base it in some sort of reality. So finding that balance between innovation and realism I think that was something that I took personally of when you're creating a new concept, creating a new business, how far can you push the boundaries without really going over the top and still keeping it absolutely feasible and real. And I think another way, like you said, like there are other teams also going to Nimbus and going to Neo, and taking that concept further. It also just shows that in SHC there are no losers. Everyone is a winner. So no matter of if you end up winning on the final day or not, of course, it's great to win and be rewarded for your efforts. But end of the day, you've walked out of what I think an 8-month engagement or 9-month engagement we were since we started in March. You walk out after those months with a concept that is based in the industry that you want to work in, with a future in the terms of having connected with people, forged relationships. You end up coming out as a winner in every sense of a business person or an entrepreneur.
I would say also, SHC offers a ton of leadership development, which was very interesting for me personally, and I think for our whole team, because in the one sense, in order to have the confidence to put forward this concept, personally speaking for myself, I needed to know technically how everything would work, just in case we were asked, or just in order to stand on stage and say, yes, we really can fly, 3,000 pounds and really know that's the truth. But it's also, so it ended up having practical benefits because we were able to answer every question, but it was a matter of confidence too. And in order to develop all of that, we went deep on every topic. We learned so much about hot air balloons. We learned so much about propellers, hybrid airships, landing cushions, composite materials. Like, we learned about all these details, but we only had 5 minutes to present. And working out that balance between, it was a few things, and this was really where the coaching really, I think, helped develop us and our way of thinking about it. So we were fortunate to receive so much coaching about what these, as you say, C-level executives want to hear, what areas they particularly care about, but more broadly as well, what the audience is able to grasp, and having a leap of faith and trust in the audience that even if you omit a detail, they're going to get the point and they're going to get your concept. And so we were working, I think the hardest part was getting the script down to under 5 minutes. That was by far the hardest part. We wanted to share every detail, and you just can't. And so, what do you cut and how do you phrase it? And are you oversimplifying to the point that you're hurting yourself? Or is this simplification, enough of a metaphor that everybody can just get what you mean? Collection of soaring hotel rooms. Okay. Do we have to say pod or not? And that whole exercise was really an incredible point of development, I think, for us in terms of how we talk about our work and how we understand our work, not only in the depths of the detail, but also from sort of 5,000 feet up. No pun intended.
Wow, really, really insightful as to saying that it really helps you, as you said, leadership, but also in terms of like, how do I phrase things and how do I sell it to such people? It really, SHC in that sense, it broadens your network, but it also helps you with those type of things. How do I sell it? Probably also helping you with your current jobs. And just out of curiosity, like, did you make any very interesting personal connections with the people with such C-level executives? I mean, you received coaching from some very influential people, but also the jury members at the summit. What was the most interesting connection you made there?
I think it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to pick one.
I mean, maybe in general, like, who'd you speak to?
I think being at our age, like, graduating from a program, it's always harder to be in the same room and at the same table with C-level executives. I think that in itself was a huge deal, to just go up to them and thank them for the time and exchange business cards and just, kind of meet them face to face. I think that was just incredible in itself. I think that was great.
What about you, Eden?
Oh my gosh, so many folks. I mean, if I start naming names, it'll just do a disservice to everyone else who was also impactful.
Let's keep it at that. I think that then symbolizes
what SHC can bring to the table. I mean, you not even being able to name one
So
name, but
many.
just there is yeah.
Okay, good.
I could think of like 10, but that's just going to be, and I'm sure that the jury, I don't know to what extent there's overlap with the jury, but I'm sure that I just trust from the environment of the competition that whoever's participating this year is equally incredible. And I think the passion, as we were saying earlier, the passion around around sustainability and bringing these people together, that they choose to come together, is what's amazing about this process. I mean, folks don't participate to be skeptical; they participate to find a way to make these projects possible, in some way, shape, or form, to take even an incremental step in our industry towards making better products and better experiences. So they were all really, really wonderful jury members.
To round off, I'd like to ask you a question that I prepared you for before starting the recording. What would be your advice to current participants?
My advice, I think I've already touched on it, which I hope doesn't sort of ruin the potency, but my advice really is to lean into the bonding that happens through this process. It's so incredible, the international audience that we bring together, the participants being not only from different schools around the world, but individuals from different countries around the world that happen to attend schools in a different country, and just the crowd, the folks in the room had such diverse perspectives and experiences, but all brought together by a common goal. And so my advice is to keep in touch, to make as many friends as possible and keep in touch, because even some of the folks, as we mentioned, are developing their own ideas from the competition, pushing them further. But even the folks that chose not to are doing incredible works in their respective respective places in the industry. So the competition brings together folks that care about these topics, that are going out of their way, right? It's extracurricular, it's not required. So they're participating and spending time and really driving forward these ideas. They're the type of people that will inevitably create change in our industry. And I know we connected sort of on social media, and even if we don't speak every day, it's an inspiration to see what they're accomplishing, whether they're recent graduates like us or the executives that are also trying, from their point, from their place in the industry to make positive change. So I would say just keep in touch and follow along what everybody's doing, because we're all gonna get there together.
Capitalize on those networking opportunities. Yeah, exactly. And especially with students that participate in such an extracurricular thing, it is a specific type of person, I think.
Right.
That's very interesting. Uddhav, what about you?
I think my advice would be to have fun in this process, to go to where you go, and to, like Eden said, you want to make relationships, you learn a lot, but it's important to have fun. Without really that element of enjoyment in creating what you are and doing what you want to do, you won't get really far. So get into the details, argue with your team, touch base with Neom to see what they're up to. But whatever happens at the end of the day, you must enjoy the process. And I think that was one of my biggest takeaways as well, I think, from the whole thing. I think we had a team huddle, remember, even before going on that, regardless of what happens today, let's just go out on stage and enjoy ourselves. So I think it's important to enjoy the moment, to be in the present, and it doesn't matter what happens in the end, just give it your all and have fun.
I think that's actually a very, very good tip, because as you just said, Eden, I mean, going into all of those little details about air cushions, and you can probably also get lost in it a little bit, and then having to go on stage and every single little word that you have to say, but you shouldn't forget about the fact that you're there and that it's a beautiful experience, and that will also lighten the mood for yourself to be able to perform well. But just enjoy it as you go.
But it's absolutely stressful. We're not discounting that. It was definitely definitely hard getting to through each stage and through all the motions, but it was definitely a lot of fun.
Yes, definitely enjoy it. Have fun is excellent advice. Very excited to see what sort of comes out of it, and a big congratulations to everyone involved so far already.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for having this conversation with me. It was my absolute pleasure. It was super interesting hearing about you, hearing about your concept, how it can have real impact and how it is impacting both your lives and possibly industry in the future, for you being able to make such great connections, learn about yourself, develop yourself, even develop the challenge by this year it being more technically focused, by making projects even more implementable and credible. It was extremely interesting to hear. I thank you so much. And I think indeed I want to end just like you, Eden, by wishing all of the future generations of SHC participants to come a good luck, a bunch of good luck, success with their concepts. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Ruben.
Thank you, Ruben.